How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Shifting Lanes. My name is Hanson. Thanks for tuning into the video. And for this one, I'm sitting in the 2021 Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid, and it's in the limited trim. And I want to share with you my likes and dislikes about Hyundai's first hybrid SUV so that you have a better idea before you buy. And make sure you stick around all the way till the end to hear my overall recommendations. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe and that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime we make a new video. Now, I've reviewed the Hyundai Santa Fe Calligraphy before, so if you want a detailed, in-depth review of that trim, please click the link up here. The difference between that car and this one is the hybrid powertrain, and this is Hyundai's first hybrid SUV. So this Hyundai Santa Fe is equipped with a 1.6-liter turbocharged engine that is attached to a 6-speed HEV automatic transmission. There's also two electric motors in here. One acts as a starter generator, and that's rated at 13 kilowatts. And then there's the electric drive motor that's rated at 44 kilowatts. Combined, there's a net system 225 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. That's an okay amount of power for this midsize SUV. It'll be great for commuting, and the hybrid powertrain should return about 33 city, 30 highway, and 32 combined. Through my own testing, I've been able to achieve about 33 miles per gallon. Now, the non-hybrid Santa Fe will be more quick and more fun to drive, as that one comes with a 2.5-liter turbocharged engine, and that makes 281 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. But obviously, that will have worse gas mileage at 21 city, 28 highway, and 24 combined. But both the hybrid and the non-hybrid Santa Fe's are great SUVs because of all the fantastic features that you get inside. The one that I'm driving in is the limited trim, and it starts at just under $40,000 before destination. And at that price, I think it's an incredible deal, and I think it's actually a steal. This SUV feels and looks much more expensive. There's leather seating that has both heating and ventilation. The steering wheel is heated and it's leather wrapped. And the headliner is made of a very premium feeling cloth material that's only available on this limited trim. As for ergonomics, I like how everything is within easy reach of the driver. There's a lot of buttons on this floating center console design. Up here are your stereo controls, and right below that are your HVAC controls. And then you have your transmission buttons and also all of your other driving features like your auto brake hold, your heated steering wheel settings, your hill descent control, parking sensors, and your 360-degree camera view. And of course, you can't forget about your heated and ventilated seat buttons. And behind that, you have a set of cup holders, USB connection, and also you can't forget about the wireless charger, which I think is one of the best designs in any car. This has a slot-in design, so you can just slot your phone in, and there's a spring-loaded door which will bias your phone against the wireless charging pad so you get a better connection. Now, all Santa Fe hybrids have Hyundai's H-Track all-wheel drive system standard, so you can force the car to send power to all four wheels when you want to. And there's also different driving modes. There's Smart, Eco, Sport, and Snow. These modes make the car drive very differently, and I'll explain more towards the end of the video. As for technology, the Santa Fe is loaded with it. The infotainment screen is 10.25 inch across and has navigation built in. The Santa Fe is using Hyundai's new user interface, and I think it's a very clean look. Two things I dislike. The first one is that this doesn't have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You still have to plug in via this USB here. However, if you get the cheaper blue trim, that does come with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The second thing I dislike is that this infotainment system is a bit sluggish to respond at times when you're switching between menus. Regardless, this display is clean and crisp, and I love how when you pull up the 360-degree camera views, it shows up very clear. Looking ahead, there's a 12.3-inch fully digital cluster display. This is a fantastic display, and I love how the gauges can change appearance depending on your drive mode setting. I also love it when you use your blinkers, it'll show you your camera feed on your blind spot. So with the blind spot monitoring system showing up on your side view mirrors and the live camera feeds showing up on your gauges, there's absolutely no reason why you should be caught off guard while driving the Santa Fe, as long as you're using your blinkers. As for the rest of the car, I think your second row passengers will have a pretty good time here. They'll get the luxurious treatment with outboard heated seats, built-in sunshade, and a giant panoramic sunroof. And since this is a mid-size two-row SUV, there's plenty of legroom for the second row at just over 40 inches. And there's also a ton of cargo space with 36.4 cubic feet of space behind the second row. And that expands to 72.1 cubic feet with the second row folded down. That's the amount of space that you'll find in the non-hybrid version of the Santa Fe, so it's good to know that the battery doesn't take up precious cargo space. As for styling, the 2021 Hyundai Santa Fe has undergone a facelift, and I think it looks a lot less boring than the 2020 model year. Up front, the light cluster looks pretty gorgeous, and you can immediately tell this is the Santa Fe just by the shape of these daytime running lights. The headlights are a projector type with LED bulbs, and they get pretty bright at night. Although these headlights are not adaptive, so they don't pivot around turns, which is a really nice feature that you can find on some premium cars. As for the rest of the SUV, the look hasn't changed much from previous years other than the revised rear bumper and new wheel designs. And the non-hybrid version can be had with 20-inch wheels if you go with the top-of-the-line calligraphy model. Between the hybrid and the non-hybrid, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart aside from the hybrid badge and this giant grille that looks like an expensive chain-link fence. The non-hybrid has a better-looking grille in my opinion, but overall, the Santa Fe is a pretty decent-looking SUV. As for the driving experience, the Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid feels pretty expensive. The ride quality is very good and it's super quiet in here. As for handling performance, this is on par with other midsize SUVs. They're great for commuting, but not so confident for spirited backroad driving. If you want to see a great handling 3-row SUV, please click the link up here. Now, earlier I mentioned that there's different driving modes in here. I've been driving it mostly in eco mode. I think it's the most comfortable mode to drive in. The acceleration is smoother and the regen braking is not as aggressive, so that when you lift off the throttle, it can coast more, just like a non-hybrid car would. The only downside about driving in eco mode is that the car can feel sluggish at times, especially during slow and stop and go traffic. Now, driving in sport mode is the opposite of that. The throttle response is sharper and the regen braking is also more aggressive. So when you lift off the throttle, you can feel a more significant deceleration. It's definitely sportier in this mode, and you can send more torque to the rear wheels while driving in sport mode. I think it's more fun to drive in this mode, but I don't think your passengers will find it to be as comfortable as driving in eco mode. As for snow mode, it drives like eco mode, but that changes the torque split between the front and rear axles, so you have better bad weather traction. And under smart, the car will change modes as necessary and depending on how you're driving. Overall, I do prefer the non-hybrid version of the Santa Fe because I like the bigger and more powerful engine, and I think the 8-speed wet dual-clutch transmission is pretty fantastic. But if you're trying to eke out as many miles out of a gallon of gas as possible, then obviously the hybrid version is the way to go. So in conclusion, do I recommend the Santa Fe Hybrid? Yes, I do. There's a lot of value in here, and you get a lot for $40,000. The mileage performance isn't as good as the Toyota Highlander Hybrid, but it's also not as expensive as that SUV. And the amount of technology found in here is amazing. There's also plenty of driver assistance technologies like adaptive cruise control and highway driving assist, which will allow the car to steer itself as long as the conditions are right. This is a pretty impressive SUV, and it's not a bad one for Hyundai's first hybrid SUV. I've actually tested Hyundai's second hybrid SUV, the 2022 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid, and if you want to check that out, please click the link up here. But that's it for this review. I want to thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. If you've learned something, please consider hitting that like button. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe and that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime we make a new video. Let me wrap it up right there. This has been the 2021 Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid Limited. My name's Hanson, and I will see you next time.